Chris Smith is the co-founder of Curator and the best-selling author of The Conversion Code, which we know as a Bible in the real estate industry. And it's a book that's so impactful, it's taught at colleges like Johns Hopkins University. Chris, as we know, was recognized as one of the best marketers in the country by the American Marketing Association, and is also a sought-after speaker and lecturer at institutions like NYU for being at the forefront of trends, technology, and the use of AI in real estate. And of course, he's helping agents stay ahead in a rapidly evolving industry. His work has been featured in Adweek, Forbes, and Fortune, cementing his status as a visionary in digital marketing and real estate innovation. Chris, it's good to see you again. Welcome here.
Thank you. Great introduction, my friend.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
It's hard to abbreviate your bio, bro. It really is. But you've done so much, and I'm super excited to see you this week and get you here again, because I think it was 2 years since you last spoke to us.
Yeah.
And we had you at one of our training sessions. It was awesome. We talked about all things marketing, technology, and AI. But so much. We were just talking about this. So much has changed over the last 2 years. And of course, here we are in 2025. And as we were saying, it's almost like you blink every week, there's something new. Even yesterday, we had some new tech, some AI that showed up and like crashed the market. Right. So
DeepSeek. Yep.
Yeah. DeepSeek. Right.
Yes.
So the reason you're here today is taking a look at what agents can do to take advantage of the newest AI and tech that they can implement into their business. So looking forward to getting into that with you. So I know you got a slide deck there, but let's just start out with a broad stroke question. What excites you the most about the opportunities for real estate agents in 2025?
Well, the thing that I would be dialed in on is, what do I already do? And how can AI make that better, faster, stronger, more scalable? So AI, I've been around for a while now. And when I first started teaching, I was teaching basically social media in 2009. And people were laughing at it, saying it was a fad, saying it was a joke. And it kind of went from like social to mobile. Before social, of course, is like the internet, then social, then mobile. I think AI is going to be more impactful on a day-to-day basis than any of these things combined. We're just starting to see the tip of the iceberg. But like, I'll give you an example, David. The mainstream like tech bros, when they think of agents, they don't think of realtors. They think of AI agents, which are basically robots that go around and do your work for you. So I would be so pumped. I would be spending so many, classes like this and going to YouTube and really like understanding that. Like, I'll give you an example. I sold Curator. I have 3 startups. All 3 would not be possible pre-AI. So you really have to look and say, okay, what am I doing? And a lot of people are familiar with like ChatGPT, and they're starting to understand like what a prompt is. But I would go a little deeper. I would ask myself to like, don't just know the basics. You don't need to be advanced, but I would try to become like intermediate user. Like, I'll be curious to know in the chat, are you guys using AI every day? Just let me know yes or no. Is it an everyday thing for you? Because it should be. And this isn't even just business purposes. There's a lot of like regular, real life stuff. But what I would be looking at is I would be looking at Perplexity for doing research. I would be looking at Claude for creative writing.
There you go.
I would be looking at ChatGPT for brainstorming ideas and creating business plans and marketing calendars. Like, it's going beyond just the sort of open AI. And it's very exciting. So that would just be my first piece of advice, would be like, when you know something to be true that other people don't agree with yet, that's when you can really get a huge advantage in business. Mm-hmm. And so I know that AI is going to change the game across the board. And I have a feeling it's going to be like social media and Blackberries. And like, I mean, David, when I started, I had to convince people to switch from AOL to Gmail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to like battle with people about their BlackBerry and the fact that like the keyboard, I get it. I know you like the keyboard, but like this iPhone thing's pretty damn cool. And so I would just say like, be excited. You know, if people look up, it's called the innovation curve. It shows you kind of how the masses adopt technology. And there's like the innovators, they're the ones that create it. And then there's like the early adopters, the early majority. And there's this category at the end called the laggards. And that's what I always think about with real estate is a lot of times people end up being a laggard and then you lose that first mover advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, like those are such great introductory thoughts about what we're going to get into. And I'm not sure, did you want to share the slide deck now, or do you want to keep jamming? What do you think's best to do here for the group?
Well, let me show this curve. I think it's actually like worth looking at. So this is Rogers, it's created by a, really, really smart guy. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see the breakdown, right? You've got the innovators. That would be Sam Altman. That would be Elon. That would be the people that invent the stuff, whoever the DeepSeek guys are from China, like, the guy from NVIDIA, which I always say wrong. Like, but then you have that 13.5 that's like an early adopter, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're too early. Like, I get it. Like, there's times where you kind of want people to like let people stub their toe a few times before you hop in. Mm-hmm. But I would just beg people to be right there where that chasm is, where it's kind of like, okay, like when you start, like I always call it the mom test and the wife test. Like my wife's a social worker. My daughter's in high school. My mom's almost retired. She does like medical billing. When you start hearing those people talking about stuff, that's when like, okay, this is probably going to be a big deal. So it's really just a mindset of staying ahead of the curve, but it is a good segue into the deck because I'm applying AI to email marketing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, buy the Tesla robot that cleans your house for you, even though I'm going to buy one for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, what are the tried and true? I don't know how much football you guys watch, David. Do you watch football at all?
Yeah.
Are you a Lions fan? Probably.
No, not. I'm a Commanders fan, believe it or not. But my fantasy team did not do well this year. It did not do well this year, but it makes you hate football a little bit. You watch all of it, but you hate it a little bit because of that.
But with every sport, there's the basics. So like in football, it's the offensive and the defensive line, like the big, 6'8", 330 guys. And that is the basics. If you can't block, nothing else matters.
Right.
And I think of email marketing, and I'll share some stats here in a second. I think email marketing is the biggest opportunity for real estate agents to actually grow their business, because at this point, I've talked to a lot of them and they either don't send out an email newsletter, or they're very sporadic when they do, or they send out like a template that gets provided by their company that has nothing hyper local, nothing about the, actual neighborhoods that you work in. It's, high level advice on, how to make your house better this winter. It's not relevant. So you can go every year, is email marketing dead? This is 2022. I'm sure if we searched it right now, is email marketing dead? But it's not. This is what should get people excited about just mastering this basic. It has the best ROI of any digital channel, $36 for every dollar spent. The one in the pink, 40x more effective at getting customers than social media. The click-through rate in email marketing is way higher than social media, because in social, they want to keep you on the platform. The one that I love, though, there's a stat that gets thrown around a lot, David, that's like 88% of people said that they like their agent. 12% of them use them again or refer them someone. 63% of past clients are more likely to actually send you a referral if you keep in touch through email. And then leads are 7 times more likely to close. So think of like a funnel, social and search are kind of that big, there's a funnel on the front of my book. Like social and search are at the top. And that's how you build the database. That's how you build the subscribers. But I'm guessing, maybe I'm wrong, did a lot of the people that are here today sign up because they got an email about it? Right? So that's where the conversion happens. That's where people take action. So let me give a couple quick tips, like kind of super practical, rapid fire, if people are taking notes. So when you retarget people with emails and ads, they're 21 times more likely to convert. There's something called omni-channel marketing. You do a good job of this, David. People used to say, should I use my page or my profile? Remember that? Should I use my Facebook page or my profile? You should use everything that you can. And this is why I get so excited about AI. I can take something as simple as a tweet that I wrote and spin it into content for every other platform that's relevant to that channel. Like if I'm going to write something on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, I'm not going to like copy, paste, and syndicate that to LinkedIn. But if I can go into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you write this knowing the audience for this is on LinkedIn, you'd be amazed at how smart it is and how well it does that. One thing a lot of people also don't do is they don't segment their list. This is critical. I'll give you guys some segments you should create. But the click-through rate, the open rate, the unsubscribe rate, everything gets dramatically better when you actually have lists and you actually say, okay, let me send this email just to the people that opened the last email. Or let me send this email to the people that have never opened an email, right? You can kind of let that behavior dictate the audience. Timing is really important as far as when you send, and this is all local times. So really this number moves a little bit, but middle of the day, middle of the week is the best practice, David. So Tuesday, like I would never send an email newsletter on Monday or Friday, ever. Those days people are too distracted. The data shows that we shouldn't do that. I do every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Like
Tuesday at 2 p.m. Yeah, I see here. Yeah, you got between 2 and 5.
Yeah,
right?
In the afternoon, like when people first get to work, they're busy. They're not checking their email so much, right? But after lunch, they get a little bored. They hop in their inbox. And even nighttime, like one of the best tricks you guys can use is like, if you do send at kind of an odd time or on a day that you normally don't send, reference that in the email. Happy Sunday morning. You're probably on the way to church like me. Da 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 da. You see what I'm saying? You can kind of leverage the time in the copy. Another thing that's really important, especially for people with listings and their goal is to kind of like get their listings in front of their newsletter or in front of their subscribers. Click-through rate goes down as the number of images you add goes up. So when we promote a listing through an email, we just do the curb appeal shot. And then the call to action is like to see 62 pictures and a walkthrough video and a floor plan, go here. A lot of people try to shove all the photos of the listing in the email itself. Now, conversely, click-through rate, just how many people click on the email compared to how many people open it, that actually improves the more links that you have. Because there's two things that I really want to like make sure I don't miss today, David. Number one, the way that you write an email newsletter has completely changed. And what's changed is great. You never have to create content to send a great newsletter. The best newsletters in the world are finding interesting stuff and then putting their summary and spin on it. For 10 years, you would only really send an email with a link to your blog. You see what I'm saying? Like, here's our new podcast. Here's our new video. Here's our new blog post. Check it out. Here's our listing. Check it out. That is like a swing and a miss. Because when you have like one email with one offer, with one link, or even if you have the same link a few times, you're not giving people enough variety. So that's a big one. The other big one is you have to put the value in the email. This is like my biggest one. If people never click, they should be super happy that they opened it and read it. And there's like, think of like OGs from an industry, like Tony Robbins, right? I think you guys have had him. He's the OG of, personal development or motivational speaking.
Right.
Morning Brew, and the one that I like is called Marketing Brew. They're literally an email newsletter that curates content from around the web, makes it interesting. They sold their company for $75 million. So they're kind of the OG at like, oh, we don't need to like be a news media company on the website to have a great newsletter. There's another one that I love that you guys should all subscribe to called The Hustle. Are you familiar with The Hustle, David?
Yep. I am personally. Yeah.
You know the guys from My First Million? Sam Parr. Have you ever heard that?
No.
You should get them on. They're great. Sam Parr, he started The Hustle, just an email newsletter. HubSpot bought it for $27 million. Because what's happening is companies are starting to understand the value of content marketing more than ever.
Right.
But it's not always something that's like natural for a company to do. And then the biggest one is called Axios. This was crazy. Axios is literally a network of hyperlocal newsletters. That's all it is. That's all it was. They got bought for $500 million. So I just want people to understand how much value there is in being great at email marketing. So what I would recommend is coming up with, and I'll give you guys a list of topics that are really worth looking through. Like, what is your 5-bullet Friday? You know Tim Ferriss, David? Have you guys had him on?
Of course. Yeah, we know Tim Ferriss. Of course. I was just talking about him this morning on another call.
Yeah.
Tools of Titans.
One of the most influential books I ever read was The 5-Hour Work Week, the 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
But Tim has an email newsletter called 5-Bullet Friday.
Yeah.
He sends it to millions of people. And it's a really, really good email. Like, I would be subscribing to these for sure.
Yeah.
Another one, have you guys ever brought on James Clear?
No, but we've done the 3-2-1.
Okay. So you know who he is though, right? Atomic Habits.
Yep.
Yeah. James Clear, millions of subscribers, 3 interesting things, 2 quotes, 1 article. Like, they have like a structure, right? Like, what you want to do is you want to give your email newsletter a brand. You want to kind of make it its own thing. For me, it's called the Chris List. So what I did is I came up with this idea that like CHRIS is going to be different sections of the newsletter: content, how to, research, inspiration, stats. And what happens when you approach it that way, there's people that will open your email newsletter every single time just because they want to skim the stats, or just because they like that there's a how-to article in there, or just because they want to check out the inspiration from the newsletter. So I want you guys to be thinking about like, what is your Chris list? And this stat is so crazy. 50% of the people that open my email newsletter open it twice. That to me is wild.
Yeah.
But the point of that is the values in the email. People star it. People don't delete it, right? It's like they're not tendering it and just swiping it right. So when you put the value, I call it just meat on the bone. When there's meat on the bone, people love it. People reply every time I send one. Thank you so much. This is great. Best newsletter ever. But like, how do you think I'm growing Ella? How am I going to grow Beacon? How am I going to grow Air? Like all these startups that I'm working on, I'm bringing value every week. And then when I have something to sell, they're happy to hear me out. They can't wait to see what I'm selling. So if you guys are not on my email newsletter, it's just thechrislist.com. I'd love you guys to subscribe every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Actually, if you subscribe right now, you'll get one in 90 minutes. You'll get the next one that goes out a little bit later today. But what I recommend you do, like to kind of like create your Chris list, I want to give you guys like a menu, kind of like, what should my topics be? And it might not always be like, for years, David, I would say like GPG is a really good acronym for like great videos we found on YouTube, right? Like practical advice from our last workshop. And then like G would be like guests that you need to tune in for, like kind of coming up with that nice little branding. But for realtors, for loan officers, like things to do in the city where they live is a really easy one to add. Hey, there's a ton of stuff going on in the next 30 days in Orlando. I picked 3 things that I think you do not want to miss. Here they are. And they're always like relevant and coming soon and super cool. And I'm just linking to the events, location, date, time, price, quick little blurb about what's great about it. Hyper local trending news. A good example of that would be, if I were in Canada, I would have included something about the 51st state, right? Like, that was dominating the headline. So I don't want to put my spin on that. Yeah. Zillow Gone Wild is just like listings are so appealing when they're positioned the right way. Zillow Gone Wild is a great Instagram account. They actually got a deal. They have a TV show now. There's another one called Cheap Old Houses, which is super cool. Let me hop out of this for a second, though, because I want to show you guys, like, in the real world, what we do. So this is Perplexity, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Perplexity. Actually, I had it on my in my notes here.
So what is your like city, province where you're at, David?
Well, we got people from all over, but let's do Calgary, Alberta.
Okay.
Take note of this. It's perplexity.com or what? No,
it's .ai. Yeah.
Perplexity.ai.
Yep. Perplexity.ai. And all I did is it said, I need a list of the best things to do in February 2025 in Calgary, Alberta. Okay. This thing is unbelievable at what it finds. Oh, wow. So have you ever been to the Chinook Blast? I've never. I have
no idea what that is.
Yeah. So the Chinook Festival, that only happens, at the end of January and February, right? There's a rodeo coming up. There's the Block Heater 2025 Music Festival. Go catch a Calgary Hitman hockey game, right? Yeah. Like it gives you a great list. And then what else is really cool is it'll actually show like suggested stuff. Are there any unique winter activities besides skiing and ice skating, right? So Perplexity, what they're great at is see all the sources that they used.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Think how long that would have taken me to kind of go one at a time and look around. And so what I would do is I would take something like the beginning of this, right? And then I would go over to Claude, another one of my favorite AIs. And I would say, turn this into a summary for my email newsletter and include dates, times, locations, and links to tickets. Okay.
Okay. So this is Claude.ai if you're taking notes.
Yeah. So I'm going to Perplexity to do the research.
Right.
I'm literally copy and pasting that in the Claude to do the writing. And now it takes like kind of the raw material.
Wow.
And it's creating the email for me now. And
dude, how easy is that?
Isn't that amazing?
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Wow.
It really is. And then I can do stuff like turn it into a visual calendar, like, the old calendar that we used to put on the, but what I love about it is like, hey, I've created this and it's like, would you like me to make any adjustments? For example, I could add more specific details, right? I can do this, I can do that. Yeah. Like, imagine if you had employee that you gave that job to, and they came back and said, hey, what else should I do to make it better? And by the way, how long did that take? Seconds, not even minutes, seconds. And see how it actually writes the code for me? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So this is, what do you do with the code then?
It's going to give me a visual.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It basically put all the events on a calendar.
Damn.
And then I could embed that. I could grab the code and embed it on my website, or I can just publish it as a link.
Wow. So is everybody paying attention to that? What Chris just did? So Chris went to perplexity.ai, got hyper local about events and things to do in your locale, and then put that into Claude.ai to create the actual post.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And then put that into MailChimp, right? Put that into, and now I'm doing this on the fly and there's people watching, and like, God only knows things can mess up. But what I was getting at with my deck is, now imagine you just kind of do that for commercial developments, right? You do that for market updates. You'd be amazed how well AI can write like a market report for a realtor. And then the bottom three are like, I would put my personality into the newsletter. Like, we have a guy in Connecticut, and people's favorite part of his newsletter is his streaming recommendations of shows he's watching and movies he's watching. In Kansas City, sports is everything. So we include a update about all the different sports teams. Wine and Dine, we got a guy in, he's in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and part of his newsletter is the wine of the month. A great letter is like hidden gem restaurants. So I want to break this down, and then let's do question and answer, David. Like, I feel like I got everybody's head spinning a little bit in a good way.
Yeah.
But I could just rinse and repeat on Perplexity and say, what are some commercial developments in Calgary, that are happening that people should know about, et cetera. So when we create a newsletter, there's like a structure to it. I call it the anatomy of a perfect newsletter. So remember, we're not selling every time we do this. We're bringing a ton of value, but we do want to get the branding, right? Like, we want the personal branding. I'm going to turn my camera off. It's kind of lagging. We want the personal branding. So we do a nice personal branded header. This is Gino's guide. The opening blurb is just something that you come up with each week. So today, like, I'm doing a live stream on Friday. And so my opening blurb today was like, oh, I almost forgot to do my live stream each month because I've been busy. Here's a link to register. And then we do what's called an email table of contents. For Gino, it worked out good. GENO. Good to know is the Northern Fall events. Economy. Notable news on the market, right? So this is kind of the beginning of the newsletter. And then it would go into each section with a title, a relevant graphic, right? And that's where also, let me just do this in real time again. I just think it's really fun to do it like as it's happening.
Yeah.
So I'll take this and different, this is the thing where I was saying you can't just be like a 101 user. You have to be comfortable hopping around a little bit. But I'll go to OpenAI now and say creative visual using Canva for this section of my email newsletter. Paste. Actually, sorry. I'm going to drop the, let me go back up here. I'm going to drop the using Canva because that's a plugin that I don't have on this account. I have like 5 accounts. So now it's going to, it basically can do design is kind of the TLDR here, David. It's creating a graphic based on what was in there. And these are all original, one of a kind. Like,
yeah, that's actually Calgary. It's actually Calgary.
Yeah. And like this image doesn't exist anywhere in the world. It literally just created it. And they've even got better with like, you can open them up in like little editors and make changes. Like sometimes they'll misspell stuff. So I can go in and I can be like, you know what? Like, there's just like one too many of these. And then it'll get rid of it for me right in line.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, right? And then you can do like, you can get really specific and say, make it 16:9, right? You can say, use pictures of actual people. Like there's a lot of prompt stuff you can do for visuals too.
Yeah.
But you're getting the point. And then at the end, we close out the newsletter with I always say, thanks for reading the entire guide, or thanks for reading the entire newsletter. And then what we do is we do a PS. Okay. We always want to add like our PS pitch, because there's so much value in the newsletter that it's only right that we get a little bit of an opportunity to say, hey, rates are down, rates are up. Here's what's happening. Like, click here to schedule a call with me. Click here to see your home's value. Click, so you can definitely do like what I call a PS pitch. And what I did here, David, is if people go to, maybe someone can drop it in the chat. If you go to ellaemail.com, if you guys subscribe right here, it will send you a full newsletter that you guys can save and copy. And believe it or not, you could like copy it. This is crazy. You could copy it, and then you could go to Claude and say, replicate this for me. My market is Calgary. And it will actually duplicate what we created. Pretty crazy, right?
That's wild. That is so cool, man. Yeah, the newsletter thing, big round of applause for that. But like, listen, when it comes to the newsletters, Nathan and I have been talking about this like ad nauseum, right? Where it is the lowest hanging fruit for agents. Is the regular follow-up, the repeat, how many agents do not have newsletters is mind-blowing. The investment is well worth it. The stats showed it. Chris shared some of the stats. And the way you can put it together is so unique and so easy to do. It's just a matter of doing it, right? Of course, you have Ella, and we'll make sure everybody has the links for that. But there's some of this other stuff, like from your last webinar, we were going through some of it. Little things, little hacks that made a big difference. Like the one you showed from Grok. This is wild. So the reason why I want to bring up this is because, again, Nathan and I and, Pat's on the call and others, we talk about this a lot, which is like making sure that you Google your clients before you meet with them. So, their personality type, et cetera, and whatnot. Try and find out everything you need to know about a client before you sit down with them, because you're more likely to convert if you know a little bit more about them. But you had a hack when it came to Grok that I thought was mind blowing, and it works. I tried it. It actually works. Yeah.
Let me put this up. I'll share it. Let me just type it out a little bit.
Great slide deck, by the way. And I know that wasn't all of it. I know that wasn't.
Yeah, there's more. I have some templates I can share too. So Grok is inside of Twitter, and it's right there on the left. It's a tab. And this, out of all the AIs, this is the only one that does this. Like normally I don't use Grok a lot, but it's really good for this. So what I'm putting in here is, I have a listing appointment with, and then you put in an email address, because an email address is kind of like a social security number. It's like a one of one. What should I focus on and know about him specifically to get the deal, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And it will track me down. Like you can see right there, they just found tons of information about me. Background, co-founder of Curator, marketing company. He has a strong focus on communication with social media. He emphasizes the importance of follow-up and lead management, promotes the use of analytics. Like, tailor your pitch, marketing strategy, success stories, business mindset. Like, this is a good one. From his post, Chris seems to appreciate a commission-only mindset, suggesting he values hustle and self-reliance. Show how your approach to selling his property will reflect this ethos.
Wow. Like, I, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is everybody taking note of that? So sometimes, you might only have the email address of a lead, right? So plugging that in and getting all that information, that's gold, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
don't
And
have
I'm actually working on something that's super cool. It's not ready for prime time yet, but you'll be in your CRM, and basically like it'll do the same thing that just did, but it'll take into account like how long they've been in the database, the source of the lead, the notes that you've left, the engagement, the listings that they've looked at. So just think of all those as raw materials that the AI says, okay, I got enough to work with here. And personalized outreach, Jennifer, I'm glad you like that. Personalized outreach at scale becomes really possible, which is cool.
Very cool. I mean, that's wild. So all these little hacks, right? Like, as we said, almost week to week, there's something new that improves the way that we can do things or streamlines it or makes it easier. I wanted to ask about content creation in marketing, right? Content creation is easier than ever these days. And that's one of the biggest hurdles for a lot of agents in their business is, how do I create content? I mean, we talked about the newsletter there, but when it comes to video, creating engaging, personalized content that converts, little, like you talk about, little nuggets of personalized info that increases conversion. So there's things like Canva, as you mentioned, Photoroom, Sora.com, Descript, Vibe.co. Any thoughts on these when it comes to storytelling and content creation?
Yeah. So the AI is incredibly good at writing scripts for short form videos. So like I'll do kind of a quick little preview of that. And this is like an actual prompt that we use. So you can see it says repurpose the newsletter, right? Into ready to post content for these platforms. Make sure it's, specific to the platform. Give us this, and write in here 5 scripts for short form videos. So what that looks like on the output, I'll go into one of our clients in Miami here. If I go into his social posts, it will turn everything that we just did for the newsletter into all of this content for each platform. That's why, like, for me, the newsletter is so powerful because it's a little bit longer form and it covers a lot of stuff. We can typically get 25 posts for social from one newsletter. And then you mentioned video, like, this is super cool. So it'll say, the Art Basel was coming up. Hook, Miami art lovers, listen up. Body, Art Basel's taking over the city. Exhibitions, here. Hey, call to action. Tag one of your art loving friends and start planning. Ready to live the dream in Miami. Body. So like certain stuff makes for better videos than other. But all you're looking for is you're looking for your hook, which is super important. Like, that has to be the first words out of your mouth, not like, hey guys, it's David with the Greater Property Group. Like, as soon as you start like that, the person scrolls. So you would basically say, like, are you looking for the best date night ever for Valentine's Day? Here's what I got for you. Go here, go to Pura Vida, And then this is something that helps people with video, because I think certain folks, David, are very natural and comfortable, on camera and kind of riffing and freestyling. But this is a little tool called Q Prompter. So if I wanted to take, like, call it a script for a video, I can go into Q Prompter, which is free to use. I can paste that in, and then I can just have it on my screen as kind of like a news guide. You can see that one's going way too fast.
Yeah.
Lower the speed. Start over.
There's your teleprompter, guys.
Yeah. QPrompter.com. Also free to use.
That's super cool.
I would say, like, hooks for videos are sort of like subject lines for emails or like titles for blog posts. The hook is like so important. And, I would go in and say, like, there was a stat that came out this week or last week now. 71% of agents in the US did 0 deals last year.
Damn.
So when I see something like that,
Yeah.
I just went into the AI and I just said, hey, give me some subject lines, give me some video scripts about this new stat that just came out. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. And in fact, in the Chris list today, I combined inspiration and stats and I like copy and pasted a bunch of that advice right into my newsletter. So yeah, it can feel overwhelming, but I don't feel overwhelmed. I feel excited. I hope other people feel the same.
Yeah. Well, the one thing you're pointing out, there's a couple things, there's a couple takeaways here, and hopefully, I'm summarizing for everybody well, but, just doing it, like taking action is the most important thing. Trying it out. Like, I use ChatGPT every day, multiple times a day. And the more you use it, the more you get used to it. You get used to the intuition in there and what you're doing and the prompts the prompts are there. Or you learn to create prompts better, I guess. You learn to engineer that a little bit better. And the other thing is too, we do this with the Sirhan coaching that we offer, the brokerage here. When we jump on the calls with Sirhan coaching, is they say, you're Chris and you're something else. Like you're a realtor plus you're something else. And a lot of the content you're pointing out, it's not just strictly real estate stuff. It's things that are interesting to the people you're mailing, creating value, right? Like
digital mayor, we call it, being the digital mayor. But I'll give you another cool pro tip. And let's try to make this interactive. Those of you that are kind of not driving on your laptop, put in a prompt that you have used that's kind of quick and easy. Just paste a prompt, type a prompt that you've used before. It could be about real estate, could be about anything. It's the Chris list, Amy, thechrislist.com.
Chris.
But I want someone to drop a prompt, like it could be about promoting a listing, it could be about a market report, it could be about whatever you guys in your ChatGPT history have as a prompt. Because because as you know, David, if you study this stuff, it's all about the prompts, right? And so at first it was like, oh my God, like I have to become like a prompt engineer. I have to come up with there's little diagrams that'll say who's the persona and what's the context and what's the format and what's the output. So here's a good one from Sean: free cash flow calculators for clients. I'll take that one. Okay. What I have found, and let me make sure I share the screen here. This is such a cool tool. It's called Prompt Perfect.
Prompt Perfect.
Yeah. So what this is I would just say, I need a free cash flow calculator for my clients, right? Just pretty much exactly what he typed in. And then you hit go. And what it'll do is, this is not actually trying to give you the output. This is actually analyzing your prompt, and it's crazy what it does. It's actually going to make it infinitely better. Look at that.
That's just based on the prompt? Wait a second.
Yeah. So his prompt was, I need a free cash flow calculator for my client. What Prompt Perfect did is it said, create a detailed guide for generating a free cash flow calculator for clients. The guide should include the following sections: introduction, inputs, calculations. Here's an example. So instead of going to ChatGPT with, the kind of high level basic one that he gave me, I'm using Prompt Perfect, and then I'm using that as the prompt. And now the output is infinitely better.
Oh, so Prompt Perfect becomes your prompt engineer.
Exactly. You don't have to overthink it. Wow. If you put in, hey, I have a listing, I have a new listing I want to promote, it'll really break it down. But yeah, this is now creating a guide based on what he said. Now, if you use Claude, this is another really cool thing about Claude. I need a page for my website with this. And then Claude actually builds apps and actually builds the actual like tool, which is crazy. So you can say, I'll create a React component that implements this with a comprehensive guide. And now this is like the guide plus the actual interactive calculator. And I did one a while back where it was like, because you guys have up in Canada where like the feds cut the rate and then them cutting the rate. Like, so I created a calculator for like, what will the impact of the mortgage rates be? Dude, look at this net income.
Just based off, what was it, a 5-word sentence?
Yeah, I think that's what he put in there.
Yeah.
And it like works.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you could publish it. Like if you publish it, you get a link to it. And once you have the link to it, like if I go into incognito mode, I can send that link to someone and it'll just kind of be an interface like that. But I also could have said, up here on the side, I could have said code and then copy and pasted that.
I did. So prompt perfect. That's a major takeaway right there. Prompt perfect makes the prompt that much better because, sometimes we think we're at the mercy of what we can, where our brain can think up in terms of a prompt for ChatGPT, but all you have to do is plug it into prompt perfect.
Yeah. That's a big one.
It is a big one. Tech tools for real. There was a couple you mentioned recently, which was Udly.ai and Dropbox AI calendar, using these tools to improve communication, work-life balance. Maybe, what can you tell us about Dropbox and what it's doing?
Yeah, well, basically like every, email, calendar, everything's going to be AI'd, right? Yeah. So Dropbox released a free AI calendar and it basically optimizes your schedule for you. But what I think people like about it is it incorporates like work-life balance, not just work. And when you use their calendar, see if I can find it. I think it's free too, which is great. It actually starts to really calculate your time, and it'll give you like charts and graphs. I think you can just go to Dropbox.com. They're probably promoting it right on the homepage. If you go to products, I forget what they call it. Oh yeah, it's called Reclaim. So it's called Reclaim.ai. And it's an AI calendar for work and life. So you can see kind of what it looks like, but it has like, you can add buffering time tracking. It has all the scheduling links, smart meetings, but it basically does this for you. And then it gives you like the data and reporting, this is really powerful. Get an extra day every week.
Wow. Yeah,
that one's free. And then you mentioned Yodlee, which is just a weird name.
Yeah, Yodlee, YOODLI.ai, Yodlee.ai. Yeah.
Yeah. So what this is you can actually record a pitch and then it will analyze your pitch and give you like analytics about your pitch. So did you use weak words in your pitch? Was your pitch concise? Right? Like, did you start the same sentence over and over? It'll actually give you coaching based on, you would just upload your pitch right here and it would break down and give you all the analytics about like basically the speech that you gave. So that's called Yodlee for anybody that just wants to like role play. They know they need to get better at sales. They don't want to hire Tom Ferry. They don't want to go down the, costly route of getting a sales coach. They're embarrassed. Grab your phone, record your listing presentation, and then put it in there and it'll give you really strong advice. And that one of the 3 startups I'm working on is AI real estate coaching, because the ability to get real-time situational stuff is so cool. Normally you have a coach and maybe you have a couple calls a month with them, which is great. There's still a need for that. But a lot of people, they can't afford that. And so I think AI can be one of the best real estate coaches of all time. That's a startup called Aire, AIRE, and that'll be launching pretty soon too.
Oh, very cool. Man, we covered a lot. There was another one I wanted to ask you about, Jasper. Jasper, posting across all platforms, right? That's what that does?
Yeah, Jasper, well, it does a lot of stuff, but like, you know how a lot of these things, man, they just have like one killer feature, right?
Yeah.
That really sets them apart. Like whenever whenever Follow Up Boss came out, it was like the best part about it was like it would auto text leads and it worked with every lead source. And like besides that, it did everything every other CRM did, and they blew up. They sold for 500 million. So this is called Jasper, and this basically will take your prompt. You end up starting with a prompt, and it will customize for all the different platforms. So it'll actually ask you like, where do you want, like, what do you want? And in this example, if I go back a page, I asked for a text message, a newsletter, a press release, and tweets. So it wrote the text, gave me a bunch of ideas for text. And those look completely different than like the email newsletter about it. And that looks completely different than like the press release. But when I created that campaign, and I might have to delete this practice one, see if they'll give me another one. Yeah. When you create the campaign, let's just call it, listing. You can brand voice some of this stuff too. But you basically just check all these boxes. So you would go in and you would basically like, I would have to give it a little bit more, but it would give me a checkbox interface, and I would just check Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? Yeah. So it basically does like kind of what we're doing with ChatGPT when we say, take this newsletter and turn it into content for every platform. You mentioned that earlier, content and trying to be everywhere is really tricky. So Jasper is a good pro tool, but I don't think people need it. I would say most of what it does can be done through the other AIs with, just the $20 a month ChatGPT one. Yeah.
Man, so much in this one. I'm so glad we're recording this. We'll put this into an email summary with the links, but we covered ChatGPT, Jasper, Claude, Grok. Of course, that was a crazy mind-blowing hack. Sora, Photo Room. I don't know if we covered Photo Room, which is a picture editor. This is really interesting. So Photo Room, you can remove backgrounds and things like that, right? Need to
quick, easy, free, change the color of a background. Like, sometimes you want to crop yourself out of a photo. Back in the day, that would be like Photoshop. Like it would be really hard to do.
Zoom in with the pixels.
It's like one click now. And then Perplexity, Prompt Perfect. Canva,
Perplexity. This one's interesting. Descript, which is video editing, right? So for
Descript is great. So Descript, if I give it a quick pitch, it's Google Docs for video editing. Okay. So I would upload a video to Descript. It's really good for just transcription. So like for this call today, boom, grab the transcription, quick and easy. But it has some really cool features where it'll recognize when there's gaps. There's a couple times when I was typing and a little bit of dead air. It can actually find, any gap longer than a half a second, and it'll remove them all with one click. And but the way that you're editing the video, this is like hard to believe. You're looking at a doc and you literally, like, if you edit the sentence, like, so at the beginning of this video, there was a little banter. How's the weather? How's this? How's that? So all I would do to edit that out of this video recording is I would just copy and delete like all that kind of back and forth we started with. And I would just find where it said, hey guys, welcome to this month's call. And it would just edit that out without ever being in a video editor view. It's really cool. Descript. We love that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And Catherine's asking, is it better than Opus Pro?
I don't know. It's I never heard of that one, but
I've used Opus. Opus is pretty interesting because you can take a video, put it in there, it'll cut it into, like say, create 10 videos.
Yeah. Those are great. And Descript is doing that too, where it's like, here's my 30-minute, like for this, obviously you're going to want to cut clips out of it. Opus is great for that. I am familiar with Opus. Those tools are huge because it's really like tedious to go back through an hour and find like a good, like 48 seconds to put into like a reel or a TikTok.
Yeah.
Opus does that. Descript does that too. But Opus is really good at it. They're like blowing up.
So here's a final two questions. One is, where do you see the real estate industry heading over the next 5 years? Really general question, but like you're a visionary, Chris.
And I want to be careful how I say this, but in my opinion, where the real estate is heading is where the rest of the world is already at. Like there's that idea of laggards, people fall behind. So what I would say would be like the innovations that have come out in the last 3 to 5 years are the innovations you should focus on in the next 3 to 5 years. We had the big settlement here with NAR. Commissions didn't really take a big hit. One big change is you need to treat buyers like listings. Yeah. And in the past, like if you got a listing, you're doing everything you can to get the property sold. You're, having to earn the price reduction. You're having to earn if it expires for them to relist it with you. Like the process of showing the sweat for your buyers and like having a game plan to create inventory versus checking the inventory. That's a big one. But yeah, I think that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today, what'll happen is you'll be able to basically say, here's the prompt, here's the goal, here's the frequency. And it'll kind of auto do it in the future. Like they just released tasks for ChatGPT. And you can say, hey, every morning at 9 a.m., give me the latest real estate news about Calgary. And now it'll proactively send that to you. So I think what will happen is like these technologies will live and breathe where people already work versus being like a destination that you go to. So if I want to write an email, I don't really want to have to go to Claude, write the email, copy the email, go to MailChimp, paste the email, fix the formatting. Like I just want to be in MailChimp and have Claude work there. That's one of our theses with AIR, AIRE, is that AIR is everywhere. So I think that'll be really the biggest breakthrough will be that these things are just going to be like every tool, every technology, every, whether it's DocuSign or Dotloop or whether it's Zillow or, Zoocasa, whatever it may be, AI will be at the source code level of everything that we interact with. And I also think it's going to revolutionize our personal lives too. So, I'm always talking business and marketing and sales, but I think the applications for mental health, which is something I'm really passionate about, I think that there's some tremendous opportunities there for sentiment analysis. And the same way I talked about like a real estate coach versus an AI coach, I think everybody should have an AI therapist, right? I think that's going to be a huge space. So yeah, hopefully those are a couple good predictions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I agree with you. And let's simmer it down to one piece of advice for agents to be successful in 2025. What would that be?
Yeah, it would be to go to ellaemail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I just wanted to put this out there for people watching live or on the recording. We're on a wait list until March. So I'm just throwing that out there. But if you go to ellaemail.com, learn more about what we're doing, send the email to yourself to kind of try to backwards engineer it. And if you do sign up, we hold your spot, and then in March we start, and then your recurring billing starts once the newsletters are like going out the door. But the piece of advice, the real one, not the sales pitch one, would be like, understand there's a lot that you don't know, and be addicted to learning. One of my best coaches ever, David, he said, you always should be learning more than you're earning. And so as you level up in your business and you have more people and resources and money, like, it's literally your job to just constantly be, learning. And what a great time to be doing that. Yeah,
that's awesome. Learning more than you're earning. I love it. And, it's funny, like we got the podcast, and of course, guests like you that we interview. But the one thing everybody says is they wish they had sought knowledge sooner, So yeah, be insatiable with this stuff. Always looking for the next thing and learn. I think that's really important, man. It's been fantastic having you, Chris. So just real quick, the links we want are the chrislist.com.
Yeah, the chrislist.com, which is my email newsletter, and then ellaemail.com.
ellaemail.com. And then on your socials, where do you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, I'll drop a link to my IG. That's my best one. I mean, that's the one that I like the most, at least. So Instagram.com/CHRIS_SMTH. No I in Smith, because I have the most common name on the planet and never get my actual real name. So I like to joke that I couldn't afford the vowel when I got the account. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no I in Smith, everyone. But listen, fantastic stuff, Chris. I really appreciate you making the time today. Really invaluable. We're going to put together a summary on this one for everybody here and for the recording. We have to. There was too many links and too many nuggets in here. So big round of applause for Chris. Appreciate you making time as always, man. And we'll make sure that everybody has the links. And
no problem. And also, just on the side note, if you do subscribe to the Chris list, I am doing a 2-hour live stream about the conversion code Friday from 12 to 2.
Okay. Very cool.
So I'm doing a 2-hour live stream sharing all the research from my book, and the link to RSVP for that is going to be in the newsletter today.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Thank you so much, Chris. I really apprate that.